What's up, everybody? This is Courtland from indiehackers.com, and you're watching Indie Hackers Office Hours. On this show, we talk to the founders of very cool, useful internet businesses and experts and strategists all across the web, and we pair them up with indie hackers who are looking for help on their businesses. Today, I am proud to feature Joanna Wiebe. Joanna, how you doing?
Hey, how are you doing? Great.
Excellent. Joanna is the creator of Copy Hackers. She is an expert copywriter herself. And we've got 4 people on the call today who are going to ask Joanna for help with their businesses for about 10 to 15 minutes each. So I'm going to call you guys up one at a time. Rodolphe, you are first. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you're working on, and let Joanna know how she can help you.
Hey everyone, this is Rodolphe. I'm connecting live from New York City. So thankful to be here today. Thanks, Courtland, for organizing it, and the team Indie Hacker, including Rosie, who reached out by email. And thanks so much, Joanna, for lending your knowledge. I feel like I speak for the community when I say you've been an awesome person with your copywriting guide that you published with Stripe Atlas. That's absolutely awesome, and your webinars, and I love your work. So couldn't be more excited to be here.
Yay, thanks.
So I'm an indie hacker. I'm a non-technical indie hacker. I run a bootstrap business called Remotive.io. We started in 2014, and we help tech professionals land remote jobs. So started out as a newsletter, then the interest grew, and we opened up a job board and a Slack community, a private Slack community, which I'd love, the topic I'd love to get your thoughts on today. We have a community with about 1,200 people. We've been running for about 3 years, and we add about 1 member a day. I wanted to know whether we'll be taking a look at the page, or where should I have more rhetorical question for you before we get started, I guess.
So for me, I'm super happy if you want to take a look at the page. I'll ask you some questions. Like, what do you most want to get out of this? What's a win?
Sure. So a couple of things. First, I don't think I have fresh eyes on my own content anymore. So I'd love to get super quick look from your professional eyes. And then I have 2 specific things I'd like to dive into, which is first, role of testimonial on a paid community product. I currently have 8, and I felt it's maybe a bit much. I'd love to talk about testimonial when it comes to conversion, and especially bringing value in the community setup. Yeah. And the second thing is call to action, because either people are going to convert, which is currently about 2%, or they're not. And if they don't, I wonder whether adding other call to action is actually relevant for me, or whether I'm going to lose traffic or interest because of that. Yeah.
So they convert, or they don't, or they convert later. So there's still that option. Okay, cool. They can get referred back, things like that. Okay, cool. So I can share my screen.
That'd be great.
Tabs open. I should have thought of that before, but that's okay. Let me share my screen, and we can look through your page. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Coolness. Let's do it. I'm gonna try to just share the one page here, which is the Slack community one. Is that the one you wanted to look at?
We're here. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So how does a person get here?
So a person gets here either through browsing job boards and finding it on my website, which is that menu, or being a subscriber to my content and newsletter, where I usually reference the fact that folks have had some success by joining it. So it's a email referral or a direct visit, one of the 2 setups.
Okay, so we've got in place, I'm just going to make sure we can see. Cool. So they can get here after having learned a bit over on the job board, or they can get here by email where they'll know you better, where we can hypothesize that they know you better. Okay, is this passively promoted, or do you have like an active evergreen funnel for it when people sign up to your Remotive email list? Do you put them into an evergreen funnel?
I used to, but not just now. So right now I'll get a newsletter twice a month, and the newsletter will always link back through content, so bringing value. And as they buy a product, they will have a reference to the community that's present here.
So it's very passive.
Yes, very passive.
But you're still getting 1 sign up a day.
Yes.
So at $99 a month, that's,
it's actually one-off. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah.
Sorry?
It's a $99 one-off, just to make a difference, because I felt it's a different
price. It's $99 once to get into the whole community. It's 1,000 people though. Why do people join this community?
More often than not, they're looking to find a job, which makes it harder to be a recurring product because the job to be done is oftentimes to find a job. So you'll come to network, mingle with remote workers and folks who are hiring remotely. And once the need is fulfilled, it's lend itself a little bit less to the recurring model I once tried a couple of years ago. May go back to it, but that's my learning.
Yeah. Okay. So they're joining the Slack group to find a job, but isn't that what the job board is for? What's the value prop for the Slack group versus the job board?
Sure. So you get feedback from the community on your CV, on your application, on a job that may not be publicly available. So you'll get, basically think of it as a career fair, online career fair. You get to network with folks before the job description even gets up.
Good. So you just wrote your copy. Hold on. Before the job is posted. So it feels like you said it's an online career fair, which people can figure out, right? They can understand a little better if they're familiar with a career fair.
Right.
Some people might need a little more, but it might be engaging enough to like capture their attention and have them go like, what? Versus the Remotive Slack community, which frankly, what is a Slack community today, right? Like it's interruptions all day. It's 1,000 other people who are chatting about themselves and what they want. And I'm one of 1,000 people in here. It feels like that's something I don't want. But what I might want is what you said, network with folks before the job is even posted, getting that feedback on your application. So I don't see that when I look at the crossheads, which scanning readers will look first at the crosshead. So crosshead, of course, we've got a headline here, and then crossheads for anybody watching are what others call subheads, what copywriters call crossheads that go down the page. Okay. So in those crossheads, you could put that value prop of network with people before the job's even posted. And I would just go back and watch the replay of this because your exact language for that felt like turn it into a crosshead, just to use exactly what you said. And that they get feedback on their application. I don't see anything that stands out here that tells me either of those things.
Sure. It's one of the last testimonial, probably not first in top of mind just now, but
oh, it's in a testimonial?
Yeah.
So the tricky thing about testimonials is like people don't read them a lot. They use them as a signal, right? So they're like, oh, okay, cool. He's got all these basically signals that people trust this and like it. So I wouldn't rely on your testimonials to do any actual heavy lifting for messages. They should support. So social proof has to be proof of something. So it's not social argument, it's social proof. So it can't make the argument for you, but it can support your argument. So if you're going to put testimonials on here, I know one of your questions was around testimonials and conversion rate optimization. You've got a couple testimonials in here that are perhaps if you felt, sorry, I zoomed in on that. If you felt that, if you had reason to believe that people are paying attention to this, like if you put Hotjar or Crazy Egg on and watched and they actually did spend time looking at these testimonials, then you could optimize them further to have like a little kind of like summary text. It's just a little headline that tells people what they're about to see in the testimonial. And it just goes above that testimonial. So it's small, it's not as big as a crosshead. It's just to help people consume the content that you're sharing with them so that they know if it's worth them reading the whole testimonial or not. Just give them a short, quick overview of it. And that overview, like advanced copywriting, that overview doesn't have to be an overview at all. It can just be a point you want to drive home and you have a testimonial under it that basically supports that. But so you have these two testimonials and then you have other screenshots of what are or are not, these are not testimonials. These are just screenshots from the Slack community of some of the common questions, some of the things people are chatting about.
That's right.
With no real sense. So I'm a copywriter, but copywriters know people look at images. They spend more time on images. It's less work. They think they can figure stuff out by looking at images. So when I come here, knowing that I'm not going to read very much, I will when at certain points. It doesn't mean people don't read online. I'm definitely not saying that. But people rest their eyes on stuff like this, on these. And I don't have any context when I look at this to know what I'm looking at. I've read a private community with 1,000+ members, and then I jump over to say, happy to say, I accepted an offer today. I started in early April. Okay, so I'm getting a sense that that's something people chatted. They're getting job offers. Hey, anyone here who had experience with or from Scraping Hub? They're talking about other things. My job becomes, as the person considering buying this membership, figuring out what I'm supposed to make of these. Your job, very simply, be to put a little bit of crossheader before each that just says like, you'll get job offers, or you'll hear about job offers above one. You'll get to talk with actual pros about things like whatever. Just separate these image blocks, because you know people will look at them. So put important messages around those and help them connect the dots, because they won't do the work of connecting the dots for you. It's not their job. They won't do it. I think we're getting close to the end of our time. I'm just wondering what chat is. Okay, so there's those things. Update with the natural language you had. Possibly think of renaming this so that it does sound more valuable.
Sure.
Rewrite this so again it speaks to the points you already mentioned. Join Now could be good for those who are nurtured by email or who are already nurtured anyway. So it's not necessarily a terrible thing to have a button in a hero section. People do it all the time. It's just you get clicks, but they're not as qualified as if you didn't have a button here and you saved it for down here or something. I'd also clarify that it's not, when you say lifetime membership, for some reason, when I hear membership, I hear subscription. So
Gotcha.
if it's like lifetime access to the community, that might be more obvious for people. I don't know that I would lead with the fact that there are 1,000 people, or that I'd repeat it as often as you do. You could look and interview or survey some of your existing users, or like people who just sign up. If it's one a day, you can start calling them, right? One person a day, call that person, or use Bonjoro or whatever to start the conversation with them. And just ask them things about like the 1,000 person thing. What were your thoughts when you saw that there were 1,000 people in it? Talk to me about that and see. And that's, you're not trying not to do a leading question of any kind, but I would be curious to know, is that attractive or is it off-putting? Will I feel like one of many, or do I want to be one of a huge community of people who are looking for jobs? And then other things, I would increase the font size across the board here. Make it really easy to read. People their eyes are fatigued, right? We're always like a little tired from so much screen time. So increase the font size. I hope that's helpful.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I much appreciate it.
Awesome. Yay.
Well, that was great. Rodolphe, thanks so much for coming on. And Joanna, thanks for helping him out.
Sure.
Our next guest is Andy Yvonne on the Indie Hackers community. Andy, why don't you tell us what you're up to and let Joanna know how she can help you?
Sure. Hi, Joanna. I'm Andy Hahn. I am a many-time founder to varying degrees of success, but this is my first time in anything but a technical role. First time as a solo founder. And I have come to the point where I know that copywriting is important, but I don't know where to start.
Well, at least you know it's important. That's good.
So I've thrown things together. I've gotten things out. I've hacked my way through it. And now I need to start focusing on this skill and learning how to build it. So I'm building a voice-first visitor management system called Front Desk, which is a crowded space. So copy is important, right? It's something that is going to be necessary to get people's attention and to show that we're unique. And so I guess my first question is, where do I start, right? I want to be able to ship things. I know it's a long process that I'll need to continue to learn, but I want to be able to ship things and learn as I go. So say I have a day to get started. What do I focus on first? What's the absolute most important things to start focusing on and learning?
Okay. So what is your current process for writing copy? It's time for you to write your homepage. What do you do?
Freak out, go look at the competition, copy some things and adjust it for my own, right? Hope it sticks, see if it converts. If not, change it in a week.
Change it in a week. I hope you're getting enough traffic for that to be a real thing.
Well, that's a little facetious, but yeah.
No. Okay. So there's a lot of borrowing copy from competitors, trying it on for size.
Or at least taking cues. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then if it doesn't feel like it's working, what is how do you get that signal that it might not be working? Like, what is that?
So right now there's a slow trickle of traffic, and we have a few signups every week, and those go up and down. And so really I'm taking a very weak signal statistically, right, and saying, oh, well, after this last change, it looks like signups are way down, or we're not converting as well. Maybe I need to address some things a little bit better. And then also, the more people I work with, the more customers I get, and the more people I talk to, the more feedback I have to incorporate. Okay. And so start working on bringing that in as well.
So you do talk to new customers?
As much as they'll talk to me, yes.
Okay. As soon as a person signs up, so if I were looking at, let's say, your homepage, if it's like, let's optimize your homepage. Yeah, there are a lot of steps to get started. Okay, what would I do first? You have the join our free beta, so a really awesome starting point for figuring out what to say. Like when we're writing copy, our job is to join the conversation, to start by joining the conversation happening in our prospects' heads. Okay, great, good idea. How do you actually do it? So in ways that nobody could do in the past, we can so easily figure this stuff out today, or at least get much closer to understanding what's going on in their heads. So one of the first things that I do with any client that I work with, every client I work with, is I change their confirmation pages or thank you pages for basically anything that, like any confirmation or thank you page that they have. We go in and we redo it because they're mostly dead end pages anyway. This is a really easy thing to do. Go in, put together a type form survey where it's a 1-question survey that allows them to answer with a long answer, like a nice little block, not a single sentence. Give them the sense that they can spend some time talking to you about this. And I ask this one question, phrase this exact way all the time. Don't mess with it. Try it this way first. Let it run for 6 months, not a week, 6 months. Collect this as you go with this question. Don't change it. And then 6 months later, if it's not working, then change it. But let things run a little longer. Okay. The question is, what was going on in your life that brought you to blank today? So what was going on in your life that brought you to download our front desk ebook today? What was going on in your life that brought you to sign up for a free beta today? What was going on in your life that brought you to seek out a solution like front desk today? Whatever that is, it's what was going on in your life that brought you to blank today. Question mark, that's it. Don't give them any more. Don't feed any like little ideas at them. Like, for example, don't do any of that. Just ask that question, embed that type form in your confirmation or thank you pages, and then start collecting, publish all those, start collecting that data. And you can go through this every single day, go into Typeform and look at what people are saying. And because you're putting this on thank you pages, that's a seducible moment. That thank you moment means that they've just said yes to you for something and you've said thank you. That is in UX throughout anybody you might talk to, that's a seducible moment. It's a really good time to get really good answers from people who are new to your world or who are starting to explore that world that you're building or that you're in. So ask that question and then see what they say, and they'll give you like topics and subjects. So you'll start to see trends like, oh, everybody's saying that, you know, they're really like out of time or they want to look professional. So you'll look for one of those bigger kind of summarized things, but you'll also want to look for the actual sticky language that they're using. Like they'll talk you through what we call moments of highest tension. So a moment of highest tension for a copywriter is that actual visual moment that could be acted out. So not like a feeling, not a benefit, not an outcome. It's an actual moment that they were going through. Like I was sitting at my desk and I had another, I don't know a truly modern lobby is. Like, I've read through the site, and I don't quite get it because I don't think I'm the audience for it. But if you can think about what I imagine one of those moments might be, is they were sitting there at their desk and they got interrupted in the middle of a meeting for the third time, and they had to run and do something because of it, let's say. But let them walk you through what was going on in their life. Like, listen to what they say. Don't summarize it. Take it and use it, sure, on your website, also in emails for people who do sign up or who come here, and let's say you do some top of funnel lead magnets and things like that. You can then, of course, get their email addresses and start sending them emails, and people never know what to put in those emails. But the answers to that survey question will help you fill in your entire email funnel that's there to convert them. So that's where I'd say you need to start. Start just by listening to people who've just signed up. That's step one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can you and will you do that? What would stop you from doing that?
Absolutely nothing. So you're saying just embed the Typeform survey right in the page, right? And take feedback that way?
Yep.
Perfect. That's super easy to do.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then from there, I mean, there are lots of different things you can do, but really take that voice of customer, put it directly on the page, and then go look at the greats in copywriting. So you want to optimize your headlines, your crossheads, your CTAs. Everything in between is kind of secondary. It's still important, but when you're a solopreneur, you are trying to make a business happen. You don't have time to look at everything. So I would say focus on the most important stuff. There's a book that you can get called Breakthrough Advertising. I'm not going to say that there are free copies that are bootlegged available online. I'm not saying that. I would never say that.
I didn't hear it here.
I know. That would be a crazy thing to say. But you can go Brian Kurtz. So this has been out of print for forever. Breakthrough Advertising by Gene Schwartz. Brian Kurtz, Kurtz, sells copies of them for about $100 a pop, which is way better than buying it on Amazon for $1,000. And he has the rights to it. So he's not like, he worked with Gene Schwartz. So like, it's legit.
Okay.
So you can buy a copy there, but you don't need to learn everything. You don't need to go over to every blog on the planet. Go to one or two copy hackers and
I just found that. So yeah.
And that will help you with things like optimizing those headlines for the right person. Then block out all the other copy ideas around. People don't read online. Make sure your headline's 6 words or less. Just block that out. That's nonsense. Don't worry about it. Focus on listening to your customers, taking exactly what they say, and making it sound better using techniques from legendary copywriters.
Excellent. So I'm assuming we're getting close to out of time, but as a technical person,
got another 6 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
So we're doing fine.
Great.
So in that case, you focus, well, I guess you kind of touched on this. You focus a lot on writing for your customer, right? And so the question was, what kind of tools can I learn when I'm early in a market to understand what the customer needs and how to tune that copy? And so the Typeform survey is one, and getting that immediate feedback. Are there any other points where I could collect data in an easy, seamless kind of way, or?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
all about easy. I work primarily with startups. So there's just you have to have quick and easy things when it's time to write that email right now. So really obvious one, review mining. So you go to places where products like yours are being reviewed online, unbiased reviews, and you go through them. You don't only take data from there, but you do want to go and ideally triangulate. But the point here is go look in Facebook groups for where your ideal audience is talking about things like yours. Like, who is your ideal audience? Who are you actually targeting?
So one of the problems with this product is it is a horizontal market, right? And so niching down has been hard. Right now, I'm targeting small tech startups that are growing and getting to the point where they have this pain, but aren't really ready to jump into the huge enterprise contracts yet. So trying to go after those people that are, dealing with a flow of traffic through their front door, but don't yet have the GDPR and the security requirements of, like a large enterprise.
Okay, so I'm sorry, are they in a physical space or is the front
Yes.
door digital?
Absolutely a
Okay.
physical space. So this is something you put at the front door of your office.
Okay, so fast-growing tech startups in physical locations.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then
Okay.
this solution uses Slack, so kind of forcing people into,
Everybody
companies
uses
that uses Slack. So.
Like what tech startup doesn't use Slack unless
Right.
they use an alternative to it? Like, but really. Okay, good. So you've got, seems like a pretty straightforward, not too narrow niche, but not giant either. Like you can do stuff with that. So where are they talking about? Is this like a replacement for an actual assistant to have sitting at a front desk?
Yeah, both a replacement for an assistant and a replacement for the tablet check-in systems that you see in a lot of offices.
Okay, so look up reviews for tablet check-in systems.
Right.
Look up reviews for or complaint sessions that are out there for startups, like on Hacker News, let's say, or things like that, where they're talking about challenges with their people coming in and out of their office. I don't know what that is. I don't know where they're talking about that. It could be in masterminds, like paid even Facebook groups that are just for fast growing startup founders. We're talking about problems like this. Go pay, be part of that. It's worth the money to be part of that. You can always cancel out later and listen to what they're saying about, because we're trying to figure out if they're not talking directly about you, but you want to figure out what they're thinking about solutions like yours. You want to discover what pains are driving them to you in the first place, what their problems are with, like, what are the switching costs of moving from a tablet upfront to your solution upfront?
Right.
Or whatever they're doing right now, they have to switch from that. So you have to understand what that pain is so that you can switch them over. So you know where they're at, which means go listen to them, look up reviews for the tablet solutions, listen to them talk to other startup founders and other, like, I don't know how big that team would be, but wherever they're talking on Facebook. And then any other spaces where they're reviewing things, products that they're hiring when they should be hiring yours. So sometimes that is a book, like Hiring Your First Assistant or HR for Startups. So you could go on Amazon.com, look up HR for Startups as a book or something, and then go through the reviews for it and see what people were saying. Like, this didn't help me at all. My problem with hiring is this. Because you're really a replacement for hiring, right? It seems like you're in part of replacement for that. So go see what the problems are with that. Then you can use that language to start actually writing copy that's more meaningful. So when they land on tryfrontdesk.co and see the headline is a truly modern lobby, if they're not here looking for a modern lobby, it's one thing if they are. If you have reason to believe that they're looking for a modern lobby because tech companies should have this sort of thing up front, it's a signal that they're like techie or something, then that's fine. But you have to have a reason to believe that that is true. I would challenge whether that's true or whether there's something far more visceral. Like, the pain is actually more real than, it's not a delighter. You're not here to make things delightful. You're here to solve a problem. So most sales happen by solving a problem. Doesn't mean you always have to lead with the problem, but I would question whether a truly modern lobby wouldn't be improved by switching it into problem language, like whatever you'll find where they're talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right. That's it for time.
Got it?
Thanks so much.
We go over? Okay.
Okay. Cool. Andy, thanks so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks,
also,
Andy.
Thanks for hosting Indie Hackers meetups in Denver. If you guys watch Denver, Andy is always hosting meetups. So thanks a lot for that.
Come join us.
And next up, we have a whole bunch of things. All right, to Dolly. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're working on, and let Joanna know how she can help.
Great, thanks. Thanks so much for having me on here. I appreciate it, Cortland, you running these, and Joanna, appreciate your wisdom. I'm already a Copy Hackers viewer and reader.
I know, I recognize your name.
It's been a while.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been, I've been working for other companies, doing some marketing, some content things, and now I'm kind of into making my own stuff, which feels long overdue, but it's more fun.
Good for you.
So what I've been working on lately is aside from marketing and I've done website and things like that, I am also an actor, and I live in Los Angeles. And it's a tough gig, and people who are new to it don't know where to start. There's a lot of people get the art side of things, they get the training in school or in classes, but they're not getting a lot of business training. Like how do you run your career as a freelance artist, as a freelance acting professional? So a friend and I are working on essentially creating a membership site that is a guide to that side of things, to how to be a professional working actor. Our domain is actually working.actor. So we're in early stages where we've built out some content to kind of get people started. The goal is to launch a paid version in a little bit that will include courses and like a community forum for people to get questions answered, both from each other and from us as coaches. People, getting feedback on their various materials, website, resume, headshots, things like that, and just connecting as a community. So what I guess my main questions are going to be in the realm of, from a copywriting perspective, how would you approach getting these very right-brained people to get excited and motivated to sign up for something that is helping them with their left brain stuff for the career, as well as we're going to have both a free sign up where people get some amount of content, or and also a sign up for a premium monthly membership. I'm wondering how you would approach which to focus on the main landing page, and like how much to focus on each, whether it's like, here's what you get for free, here's what you get for free premium, or we're just promoting the free side of things to get people started and then follow up afterwards with email follow-up once people are already in. So just that approach to how to get people in and how to keep them there, and which one to focus on first.
Okay. And when you say which one to focus on first, I've written down two things: how to approach getting actors excited about learning, and 2 monthly memberships. So are those the two things when you say which to focus on first?
Yeah, I guess, focusing on first being like, do we focus on bringing free members in first and focusing on that on our main landing page? Or should we be selling the premium option and then also say, hey, you can also get this stuff for free if you don't want to sign up for premium?
What is your free to paid conversion rate right now?
So we have not yet launched. We have,
okay.
We're pretty much just scrappily creating content and have a free version that's live. And we have 50 test people that have gone in there and loved it. A lot of friends just saying like, I wish I had this when I moved to LA 10 years ago is kind of the feedback we've been getting, but we don't, in the next month or two, we're looking at launching the premium version.
Okay. Okay, so I'm not saying this is your headline for the page, but the line, I wish I had this when I moved to LA 10 years ago, put that in quotation marks, make it a crosshead on your page when you're getting closer to the bottom of the page, like the actual closer section of it. Yeah. It was good. Okay, so definitely not my job to talk about the strategy of free or paid. Which one do you lead with? A big discussion to be had there for sure. But prevailing wisdom at this point in time, I have a cat here now, by the way. Prevailing wisdom seems to be that, like if you read, almost anything written by anybody who's tried free and then tried leading with paid, leading with paid is the way to go. Leading with free means you have to know how to convert people from free to paid. Converting them from nothing to paid is perhaps not as difficult as converting free to paid. So, I would, because you aren't, I assume that you're not venture funded and that you've got nothing but a giant goal of bringing in, millions of users or something. You're trying to build a community here that can help give value, but also then sustain you too, and help you really have enough money coming in that you can then use that to build your community. And if that's the case, you can't be free. I don't know how you'd be free and make it a valuable community. How will you moderate it? All of that stuff. I would throw free out the window, especially because a lot of memberships, people expect to pay for them. It's just, why work against that? Work with that flow of like, people expect it, so do it. So there's that. I would start with the premium or the paid one. Okay, so then your homepage becomes a sales page, which is hard, because the goal of a homepage is not to be a sales page. It can do that work, but it depends on how the traffic is getting there. So how do you imagine people will be arriving at working.actor?
So we have a fair amount of relationships with agents, managers, teachers, other people who are have email lists that are active in the community for actors and things like that, who will be recommending us, at least at first. We also have Backstage is a popular resource for actors. So we previously done like guest blog posts on there. So possibly guest blogging on other things online that actors are reading as another strategy. And we're basically just going to be asking all of the people we know over time who have an audience and say, hey, can you link to this, or can we partner on something?
Okay, so you don't have plans, you don't anticipate that people will arrive here organically. You're not like optimizing for search where you think you'll actually rank.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So if that's the case, then the traffic coming here is more likely to be, when we talk about stages of awareness, they're more likely to know about you. So they might not know the product, but they are likely to have been referred in, which makes them like solution aware. So they're aware that this is training for actors. Yes?
Yep.
We can say that when they land here, they're aware that it's training for actors, in which case it could be a headline. I wish I had this when I moved to LA 10 years ago, because they arrive here knowing it's for them and it is training, and that could be a really compelling way to bring them in. So I'd replace your headline, learn everything you need to be a working actor, which is probably good to have closer to the point of conversion. So it's just like a clear statement of what they're going to get. So I'd move that down as you think of this page as more of a long form sales page, where I would just replace the word learn in that headline that you currently have. If you bump it down, replace it with something like that doesn't signal work is about to start, where learn does. Given that people are referring traffic to you and you're selling a course or membership, whatever we call it, are you planning on doing an affiliate program?
We're considering it, but not loving the idea right now.
I don't blame you. But if you're depending on people sending traffic here, and if you are making money off them, there may come a future where you look at this more as like, okay, if they're sending me traffic, I'm going to give them a, affiliate revenue. And if that's the case, the reason I ask is not for the strategy side of it, but then you'll probably end up writing more actual long form sales pages and treating this as like a bit of a lead magnet and things like that. So this page will probably change as the referral structure kind of plays out and you see what you need to do to keep those referrals coming in. But for now, treat it as a long form sales page, selling the premium solution. When you say how to approach getting actors excited about learning, no one's excited about learning. What do you, like, no one, like people, they don't get excited about it. They get excited about the outcome of it, right? So they get excited about that future self where they know things like what to do on Instagram, right? They have all sorts of other actors they're competing with who are maybe killing it on Instagram. And they're maybe trained actors who've never thought of themselves as like having to promote themselves. And now they do. So I want that. I don't want to learn about social media. I want to use social media to land more gigs. Okay, that's cool, to land better auditions, whatever that might be, to build a platform that I can then use to land an agent. So what are the things that they really want to get out of the training? And obviously start there. So scrap the idea, even as you're thinking about writing this, as you're thinking about your product, it's not about training them at all. That's not what it is. It's about getting them to that great outcome that they want. So focus your mind on that when you're writing the copy, and things will naturally shift when you're writing it. As soon as you go back to pretend to telling yourself, oh, this is a training program, you're writing something dull. Nobody wants to go to school. And I loved school. I was a really good student, and I would still be like, no, I got other things to do. So rethink that. You can't get them excited about learning. You can get them excited about actually growing their career. Don't overshoot though. This is an important thing. So we think about aspirational messaging, like you want to show them the best version of themselves or their future self. That's their most ideal self. But I encourage, and we do at Copy Hackers and the partners that we work with, talk about that next best self. So think about if you were selling weight loss solutions, you're Weight Watchers, and you know someone's 300 pounds and he wants to get to 180 pounds. There's 120 pounds of work in there. That could take 2 years. So that person, so saying like, be your skinny self, your future skinny self or something, not that anybody would say that, that's too aspirational. That's too far away. What we want to talk about is that quick win that you'll get. What's that first moment when you're going to feel like, what is it? Is it actually looking at your headshot? And this is like going back to the diet thing. Is it losing that first 2 pounds, like 2 pounds that you know isn't water weight? That's something where you're like, okay, I can do this step by step, small things where you'd show pictures of incremental growth. And that's the thing here too. They're not aiming to have their star. You wouldn't have a picture of their star on the Hollywood whatever walk. But rather like, is it having an agent call you back finally, right? Or is it getting to, that 100 more Instagram followers or whatever they're called on Instagram? But talk about those smaller, quicker wins that they can really imagine, and do that to flesh out the whole section around what's inside, because you're kind of glazing over things there. And then just rethink your copy across the board on the page, like sell them on that next best version of themselves, not their far future self. And then rethink the copy. Table of contents, no. Nobody cares what a table of contents, that's placeholder copy. What do I actually care about? Like, is it about me not wasting my time on a bunch of useless modules when what I really want to focus on is getting my CV updated? I don't know, or getting an IMDb page or something like that. Then help me understand that I can attack modules one at a time whenever I feel like it, that it's not dripped out to me, that I can just dive into whatever I need right now. Like really put yourself in the shoes of that person who's an actor and wants to be a working actor, who doesn't have time for this and who wants the kind of dreamy, cool things. There's a lot of emotional appeal there that you can play with that I think you're just holding back on. Does that help?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. That's,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Good luck.
thanks, Joanna, for coming on. Yeah, best of luck. That was some great advice. We are now wrapping up with Scott. Scott, welcome to the show. Why don't you let us know what you're working on and ask Joanna whatever questions you have for her.
Hey, Scott.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am great. So I am working on a company called ROI Forms, and the idea here is helping SaaS companies demonstrate product ROI throughout the sales cycle, right? So the idea is working with SaaS companies, typically companies with subscription model, helping model out their value proposition, and then putting a form in front of that essentially. So early in the sales process, the lead generation process, you can gather a little bit of information from asking maybe 4 questions, and then you can run that through this model to actually provide a value estimate to that prospect, right? So you're not just saying, hey, join us and we're going to save you a bunch of time. We're actually saying, hey, based on your data that you provided, we can potentially save you X amount of time. So the idea is making it a little more actionable than just your typical kind of web form and lead generation.
Okay. Cool. So
the questions I have are many. First off, this is my first time trying to start a business. As you can see, I am in an office right now, so I have another job. So it's fun doing this on the side. Yeah, sitting in a phone room in my office right now, hoping nobody sees my screen.
They're all watching right now.
and I actually do this at my current company, which is a very large software company, $1 billion software company, where we work on our large enterprise deals where we come in, we do this, it's called value engineering, where we help customers understand the value of the product. So the idea was we could make it a little simpler, online form, things like that. So the reason I go into that longer intro is because it kind of dives into my questions. So if you were able to jump, I want to ask you to share your screen again, because I wanted to count how many tabs you have open on your browser.
Come on, I have a normal number of tabs open.
No, you have the number of tabs my wife has open, and then she complains that her computer's slow. So the question, the main question, I have three different questions, but the first one was, and maybe the first two kind of run into each other, is one, is it doing a good enough job of explaining what the product is supposed to do? And two, kind of on top of that, is, am I trying to do too much, right? So I have this genius idea the other day that, hey, why don't I just make this form page an actual demo of the product, right? So I could actually have someone give me their information and then send them, you know, what our product would do, but for my product, right? Essentially saying, hey, using ROI forms would help you convert this many leads, do X, Y, Z. But I feel like as I look at the landing page, it gets a little muddled. Like I'm trying to do both at the same time, educate and entice, I guess, instead of being more clear on what the product is and does.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So what is going on here on your page right now, which I will share my screen again. Okay, cool. Okay, so I land here. This is the page in question, yes?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So build more quote. So
sounds like a courtroom now, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this a demo of your product, or is this to get just an ROI report?
So the idea is that the ROI report that you'd get in your inbox is technically a demo of the product, but it's based on my product. And that's where I think I'm trying to do a little too much here with this. Instead of just saying, you know, sign up, what I'm saying is, hey, give me a little information on what your sales team is like, or what your process is like, how many leads you're converting. And then in the process of telling them what my product can do for them, that's actually demonstrating what the product is as well. So okay. I can tell by your question that it is too confusing.
No, I don't. Okay, so I'm just thinking through the actual like flow of this funnel, like what you could do. So I agree that. So when we're talking about writing a page, we have something called the rule of one reader, one big idea, one promise, one offer. If you do write a homepage that is about demoing the product, essentially, like which I think is a great kind of meta nice idea, you have to write the whole page to make that clear. That's a copywriting rule, which a lot of people break, and then they wonder why their conversion rates aren't as good as they could be, because they're trying to sell people on two different things, like, oh, first sign up for the trial, or wait, instead just demo it right here and now. So you have to choose one. Is it sign up for the trial, or is it demo? And if it's demo, you can easily write a page that's really clear that says, like, effectively, try this, like, watch how this works by actually doing this right now for your own company. Like, you can just explicitly tell them what's going to happen. Like, this is a live demo. Here's how it works. Enter your stuff. You can have a video that helps them understand that better, but that means focusing on one goal, that one offer. And if it's, okay, I'm not going to do that, then you have to focus fully on selling them on starting the trial. So what is the product value proposition? How long once we get down to trial, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. If you were to say, yes, this is too confusing, and I feel like up this high on the page, it is a little confusing depending on how much people know about a solution like this when they land here. So the question of course, where's traffic coming from? How much do they know about you? If you're going to launch this on Product Hunt, they might have a good idea because they've read a bit on Product Hunt. So they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Then they can land on a page where there is a demo at the top of the page and be more prepared for that. But that might just be a matter of making a specific landing page for Product Hunt for the launch that you do there. Rather than a homepage, we don't know what traffic's coming to a homepage ever. So, and especially as your business grows, people start talking about you and writing about you, people are coming from all over the place with lots of different ideas. So unlikely to believe that they're ready for a demo of the product unless it's a sophisticated market where the market is used to calculators like this. But if it's not, then I would do this. If I were you, especially since you're like kind of on the fence, but it does feel like a good idea. So like, how do you do this? I would strip the demo off this page. I'd basically duplicate this page. So you can leave the demo on that duplicate copy or the copy. So take this and focus your homepage on talking about the value prop of the product itself, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a trial page where your goal is with your homepage to get people to start to hit the try for free button or the get started. Then on the thank you page for that, and I just talked about doing something else on thank you pages with the last person or like a couple back. But you could always do the demo as the thank you page. So I don't know what your current flow is now. If I hit get started, then when I land here, this is the demo. Okay, cool. So perfect. So maybe leave it here as the demo, but really better explain like this is the product. Like, and you can make it quite personal and engaging by like, again, having a video of yourself explaining like, I've been doing this forever. I've seen the ways that people get this wrong. I've seen how critical it is for you to be able to express ROI to that end user. So it only makes sense that I would show you the ROI of working with ROI forms. Enter this here. Here's how to do it, and walk them through. Give them a little bit so they know. Because when you look at this, I don't think it's easy to know what you're looking at first blush, right? You're like, oh, it's a form. And you kind of eliminate a form like, oh, I don't want whatever download they're giving me. I don't want that lead magnet. We'll call it that. So you have to give them more context around what's up. Like, what are they looking at? But I think it's good that it's here. I wouldn't necessarily rush to put it up front. I would spend more time on this page, on the home page, talking about what the product is. Now, that doesn't mean jumping into the value prop. Would you say your market, how sophisticated is the market when it comes to a tool like this? Are they used? I would
say it's less sophisticated. Yeah.
So they don't arrive here necessarily knowing that a product exists like this and that there's an easy way to use it online. So what I would recommend is that, and I recommend this a lot, and very few startups or SaaS companies feel comfortable doing it this way. But I do recommend that you open with the pain that your prospect is feeling that drove them here. If you've read Spin Selling, you'll know like that pain is a huge part. Not necessarily spin selling. If you haven't read, if you have or haven't, it's not about selling small product like monthly subscriptions and things. It's more about selling enterprise. It's still worth looking into. Because leading with the pain repeatedly, and I mean, not leading with it repeatedly, but repeatedly leading with the pain gets more people pulled into the copy. So when I land here,
and how specific,
go ahead.
How specific on that pain, right? So for us, you know, in kind of a funny way, I thought about putting something on here about, you know, most companies are doing this, but in Excel, right? Which means that they have no data on what they did the last time. They don't understand how many they're actually converting. They have no way to share versions, right? So in Excel, you're saying, you know, presentation _final _ version 2 _ very final _ version Scott, right? So the idea is like if it's web-based, and you can kind of eliminate some of that confusion but that's kind of a very specific pain. So that's where I'm, you know, obviously not good at this stuff.
No, and this is the thing. I think we've seen that the more specific you are, the better, as long as you know your audience. So if you're getting specific about what they're actually going through, then we've seen 50% increases in paid conversions to 350% with Wistia. So we've seen lots of different things work out here when you get specific, again, as long as you know your audience. So you're actually talking about what's going on in their lives. That the final thing that anybody who's ever worked in a large company can totally understand. And the question is, does a small company or does your audience know that feeling, or are they kind of hacking through things and forgetting to do this process at all, and not knowing the calculations because they have 7,000 other things to do? But what we're talking about here is in part of the framework that I'd recommend to you for your page, which is problem, agitation, solution. So you're talking about a form of like the solution that they're in, and like the current solution they have and what they have to switch from is Excel. Here are all the problems with doing this in Excel. And then you list off all those things that you just said, and those become kind of the second part of the page. So forgetting about what's actually here, let's just say the second part would be the hero. What you land them on is a specific problem that they're feeling that drove them there right now. So it was something they just went through, let's say. And I have an example on copyhackers.com of like optimizing the homepage for Sweat Block, which is for people who suffer from hyperhidrosis or who sweat a lot. And they were leading with the product itself. And we switched to leading with the pain of solutions they've tried. Opening headline was, "It doesn't even have to be hot out. My armpits are always wet," in quotation marks, with like a picture of a person like looking down. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about, getting into a place where you're like, put it in the first person, put it in quotation marks, and say what that pain is that drove them there. Like, I think I lost another sale because I couldn't calculate ROI. But really listen to what people are saying, put it in quotation marks, and then agitate that. Like, what was going on? What's the cost to them? How does that manifest? How does that problem keep showing up in their lives? And how does it complicate their lives? And once you've gone through that, then you transition into your solution where you can say things like build more qualified leads and sell more SaaS by actually moving prospects through your sales funnel with customized savings reports delivered to their inbox. Move all that stuff down once you've introduced the problem and agitated it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just been stuck on this idea that if you have some type of form and you're trying to gather information, you want it as high as possible on your page, but you're saying that it's more of a story a narrative we're telling the person who's landing there, and we have to lead them through the process. Yeah,
it's uncomfortable, but the reason that a lot of SaaS companies don't do it is because their market's pretty sophisticated. If your market were sophisticated and they were used to this, you wouldn't have to walk them through their pain because they've already lived and died through that. Like, they've gone through it so much, the whole world knows about the pain. Yours is lower sophistication. I'd say take more time, especially when you're smaller and you can learn a lot. Take more time and really walk them through it. The risk in not walking them through their pain and matching where they're at is that they land here. They don't quite know what they're doing here. They got referred in somehow, and their job becomes to figure out, how is this relevant to me again? And when they see build more qualified leads, sell more SaaS, that's good. But I'm
super generic though.
From my life to what you're telling me. And there's a large gap in there that copy can really quickly fill in and really effectively fill that gap in, moving them toward the point where they're ready for this message.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. I know we're at the end. I hope that's helpful.
It is
helpful to
absolutely.
me,
Thank you
and I'm
very
just
much.
watching. Thanks a ton, Joanna, for doing this. Thanks, Scott, for coming on and showing us your startup and asking questions. And thanks everybody else who took part. Joanna, can you let listeners know where they can go to find out more about you and Copy?
Totally. Yes, I am at copyhackers.com or on Twitter at copyhackers with an S, or we have a group called Word Workers on Facebook. If you are somebody who writes copy, writes content, or you're a digital marketer who needs to know more about this stuff, that Facebook group is a really good place to go for that. Cool.
All right. Well, I've appreciated it. We are running lots of these office hour sessions nowadays, listeners. So if you would like to get on one, just visit ndhackers.com/office-hours. We have one with Val Geisler, who will help you improve your onboarding, retention, and email conversion rates next week. So thank you so much for tuning in.
Next week.
Yeah, it's next Wednesday.
Val's awesome. You'll love her.
Yeah, I do. Thanks so much, Joanna. I'll have to have you on again sometime.
Thanks. Cool. Thanks, Cortland. Thanks, everyone. Bye.